Hello everyone, my name's David Edgar, I'm the host of Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. I'm joining you tonight after Rangers' Europa League run ended at the quarter-final stage, going down 2-0 to Athletic Bilbao in Spain, and the overriding emotion right now is frustration. We needed things to go pretty perfectly tonight for us, and it didn't. Some of it was down to us, things that we could control that we didn't do well enough and we made mistakes, and a lot of it was down to the referee team who didn't award Rangers two blatant penalty kicks, absolutely blatant, that could have changed the game, one of which might have seen a red card as well. And these had a material effect on the game. I remember sitting in the press room after Fenerbahce when Jose Mourinho suggested that Bilbao were receiving a hell of a lot of good fortune from referees. It's almost as if someone wants them in the final in their own ground, UEFA. But whether or not that's true, certainly Rangers can count ourselves very unfortunate tonight with the penalties. And there were mistakes we made ourselves. John Souttar diving in when he didn't need to concede a penalty that gave Bilbao the lead. James Tavernier switching off at the back post, something that he's been prone to his whole career and never seems to learn, and that allowed them to make it 2-0 and kill the tie. And the other was a change in the first half. Now, it was an enforced change. Rangers, I think, had done reasonably well at that point, but Ridvan Yilmaz went off injured, and Barry Ferguson, rather than putting Nsiala on and just sticking with a back three, putting Tavernier out to right back, put Connor Barron on, put Yefty at left centre back, and really bizarrely took Mohamed Diamandi out of midfield and put him at left wing back. And what that did was, Diamandi's the only one in our team who can take the ball in the half turn and move and go forward and keep the ball. And we were using that to get out. When he wasn't there, Bilbao started to dominate the midfield, and then they were really putting the pressure on. And that is something that was within our control, and that was a mistake from Barry Ferguson. To the penalties then, first of all, Cyril Dessers is in the box. He's trying to get in the end of a loose ball, but it's between him and the keeper. I think he might get to it. You never know though, because he has his shirt pulled as he's running for it, which brings him down. And the evidence of the shirt pull was it had ripped his shirt. It is clearly a penalty kick. Now, also, as it's a last man foul with no attempt to play the ball, no genuine attempt to play the ball, it's a red card as well. That could have changed the game massively. It really could have. And when you see some of the decisions that Bilbao got over the two legs, you do think that the refereeing system wasn't particularly slanted in our favour. The second one in the second half was an identikit to the one that Dujon Sterling gave away last week. The ball bounces up off the ground, hits him on his hand, which is outstretched from his body. It's a penalty kick. Now, I don't like that rule. I don't like the handball rule. I told you that last week after the penalty that was awarded against Dujon Sterling. But under the rules, it's a penalty. It should have been given, and of course it wasn't. And at that point, really, you begin to think, well, what do we need to do? Does one of our players need to get slashed with an open razor in the box? And even then, with VAR say off, it was only minimal slashing. So, yeah, frustrating. As I say, though, we made errors ourselves. Ball into the box. Clever play by the striker, because he comes on John Souttar's blind side and gets in ahead of him. Souttar doesn't need to make the challenge, but catches him. It was a penalty, no issue there. No complaints about that decision. And it gets rolled in for 1-0. And then in the second half, Rangers did try to take the game to them. We suffered yet another injury blow when Leon Balogun had to go off after a clash of heads with John Souttar, which just kind of summed it up, really, in terms of the fortune we were getting. But we almost equalised when a good ball into the box saw a bit of a scramble, and there was Nico Raskan, but his shot was saved by the goalkeeper onto the post and out, although that was the incident that should have been given a penalty, as it was this time last week. So a sense of regret. We didn't do enough over the two games. There's no doubt about that. We haven't scored, so that tells you that. But when you think about the things that went against us in that, the red card after 13, a VAR decision incidentally last week, the penalty, then tonight, two penalties, it kind of feels like we were never fated to go and win that game. It's the end of the season for us, realistically. We now have a number of games to play, but they're mostly meaningless, really. And now it's really about the takeover, and it's about the new manager, the new sporting director, and it's about preparing for next season. This has been a horrible season. Nobody, no Rangers fan, thinks anything else. It's been a litany of mistakes, and it's been a litany of poor performances, with Europe actually providing the only real solace. But we've got to get better right across the board next year. We've got to be better in terms of the way that we play. We've got to be better off the field in terms of things like medical care, because our injury list is ridiculous. 1 year it's unlucky, 2 years you're either not treating it right or you're not signing the right players. And that'll be first, I think, in the to-do list of the new sporting director, because we can't keep going like that. A lot of these players will leave in the summer. Some of them, like Raskan, etc., will go because we'll get a good offer for them. Others will go because they're simply not good enough to play for Rangers. And hopefully we'll get a few in and we can start a new journey. The end of this season is not just the end of a season, it's the end of an era, and quite, as we said, a disappointing ending as well. If you look at the last 10 years, really, since King, the Three Bears and the various iterations of this board have come in, a graph, if you plotted it, would look like this. And unfortunately, they're leaving at a very low time after the last 3 years of constant mistakes, and the way the club is run has left us here. But hopefully the future will be brighter, and hopefully the next time we get into a latter stage of European competition, we don't draw the side whose game, who are hosting the final, because as Jose Mourinho says, it becomes very, very difficult, almost impossible to get past them. Thanks for listening, folks. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.